All right, folks, so let's hop in and get started today. The first plan we're going to talk about today is disability insurance. Raise your hand if you need a paycheck. Yes, I think we all do, right? And for that person over there who did not raise their hand, you can certainly ask them for a loan if you ever end up out of work, right? The reality is we all need a paycheck. Now, if you live in New Jersey or you live in New York, you have access to something called state disability. Both of those states would refer to that benefit as you're entitled to it. But when you find out how much you actually get from either state plan, you don't feel very entitled, right? Who here thinks that the state of New Jersey or the state of New York cover your entire paycheck if you end up out of work? Anyone? Agreed. We all know that it does not, right? So in the state of New York, if you ended up out of work because you had pneumonia, had a baby, had a stroke, a heart attack, whatever the case may be, the most that the state of New York is going to give you is $175 a week. That's it. Now, I guess if you lived way up in the outskirts of Albany or in the country part of New York where incomes are much lower, maybe that fits there and that works. But in New York City, in the 5 boroughs, it's not really going to get you very far. In fact, I think some buildings charge $1,000 a month for parking. So you won't be able to get very far on $175 a week. Now, in New Jersey, the reimbursement for state disability is much higher. But again, it's all relative, right? So the state New Jersey plan is going to give you 85% of your income, here's the kicker, not to exceed $1,083 a week. Now, some of you may say, hey, that sounds great. Except for the fact that, as you all know, or you maybe not know, some of you who have filed state disability before do know, that the state of New Jersey heavily taxes that benefit. So what started out at $1,083 a week is now down to about $699. So the most anybody in the state of New Jersey is going to get, no matter what they make, is about $700 a week or $2,800 a month. Very few people in our state can live off of that, right? That might cover your mortgage, but what do you do about your utilities and your groceries and your cable and your cell phone and your car payment and your car insurance, right? Those still all have to get paid. And at the end of the day, we don't live in a very forgiving state, right? Everybody here wants their money. So nobody cares about your tale of woe about how you broke your leg or you had a baby or what have you. They're like, hey, really sorry to hear that, but we still want our money. So pay us, right? So if you can't afford to live off of what the state is going to pay you, you're going to need some additional income. Well, with Colonial Life, we have a disability policy that will allow you to pick up what you need in order to cover your bills. So let's say, for instance, you make $75,000 a year and you filed a claim with the state of New Jersey because you had a surgery and you were going to be out. State of New Jersey is going to give you around $2,800 a month. You still need another $1,000, $1,500 in order to pay your bills. Well, you can pick up this disability policy from us and pick up that other $1,500. This way you can be whole, if you will. Now, the one thing I will tell you that's very different about our disability policy versus the state plan, as you remember me saying about the claims process a little while ago, you'll see money from us in around 7 days, 10 days, right? Who here knows how long it takes for the state to pay you? 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 12 weeks, right? Long time. And they give you like a Bank of America debit card that you have to go get the cash out of the Bank of America ATM machine to put it into your own bank account. It's a very bizarre setup, right? But that's what happens here in New Jersey. New York, they direct deposit the money into your bank account, and that's cool. But at the end of the day, that's not very much money over there. So either way, you're finding yourself in a challenged spot. Filing a claim with us, turnaround time is very quick, and you'll have the money in hand so you can go make your bill payments. Does that make sense to everybody? That's the primary focus of this plan. There's nothing special about it. If you need a paycheck, if you're out of work for any reason, if a doctor says you cannot work, this is designed to cover your wages. Does that make sense to everybody? Now, obviously, if you make more money than the $75,000, if you make $110,000, $125,000, and you need more than $1,500, if you need $2,500, if you need $3,000, $4,000, whatever you need, this will help make you whole. Make sense? Excellent. Any questions on this one? Awesome. The next plan we're going to cover today is our accident plan. Now raise your hand and tell me, what's the first thing that comes to mind when you think of an accident?
Car accident.
Car accident, absolutely. We get this all the time. And I would imagine, since you all probably drove here today, that you all have car insurance, right? And so if you got in a car accident, you have a policy already that's going to cover that. That's not what our accident coverage is for. Our accident coverage, its primary focus is to cover all the day-to-day stuff that you might encounter. Such as, raise your hand if you've ever broken a bone and been to an orthopedic. How about a physical therapist? How about an emergency room? A walk-in clinic? A hospital? A doctor? Everybody, right? Yeah, that's what this is for. Now, when I met with the owner of the company, we went through your existing plan, we talked about the $50 copays that you guys have. So if you ended up breaking an arm, or your kid hurts themselves and you have to go back and forth to the orthopedic and back and forth to the physical therapy, guess what this covers? It helps cover the copays for the orthopedic and the physical therapy visits. It'll help cover the money for the urgent care visit and x-rays and all that other stuff. That's what this is for. I'll give you an example. Slice a finger open. Go to a walk-in clinic. Need 2 stitches. There's a walk-in clinic copay, right? This is going to cover that, you know. If it's a bigger situation where, like, you know, you do throw out your back doing something with your dogs and end up going back and forth to physical therapy and chiropractors, you're going to have copays for all that stuff, right? Absolutely. If it's a bigger situation, like maybe your husband is on a ladder and you accidentally kick the ladder right now, just kidding. So the husband falls off the ladder by himself. Falls off the ladder, breaks a leg or a hip, ambulance comes, picks him up, takes him to the hospital, gets to the hospital, they run some tests, MRIs, etc., come back and determine that he does have a broken leg or a hip. He has a surgery, he's in the hospital for a few days, gets out of the hospital, now he needs follow-up visits with orthopedics and physical therapy and all that other stuff. That's a pretty expensive bill. Right now, in talking with the owner, you guys have a $1,500 deductible for a hospitalization stay, right? So you'll be responsible for the $1,500. Sidebar, does anybody think ambulance rides are still free? No, they're not, right? So who knows what that's gonna be, $500 to $1,000 for that. Surgery happens, you get out of the hospital, then you have all these visits, you have copays for all that stuff. That really could add up very quickly. You know, you could be into $2,000, $3,000 for all that stuff. Well, guess what this covers? This has an initial hospitalization benefit of $1,200. You get a daily benefit of $200. You'll have an ambulance ride benefit out of here. You'll have follow-up visits with doctors. Like, this is designed to help cover your copays and deductibles. Does that make sense? Interestingly enough, if you have kids away at college and they get hurt, right? This is still going to cover them. So this isn't just going to cover you in-state, it'll cover you out-of-state as well. So, does that make sense? It does cover some other interesting benefits, like if you chipped a tooth on a cookie, you got stung by a bee, a wasp, you know, any kind of weird thing like that. It does actually also have benefits for that as well. So, and this plan's only like $5 a week for a single person. It's pre-tax. You know, if you needed to have a whole family on there, it could be $10, $11 pre-tax, like $6, $7 a week. Very affordable in order to cover all those out of pocket. So, any questions on this? Awesome. The next plan we'll talk about today is our medical bridge plan or hospital plan, right? Naturally speaking, if you ended up in the hospital to deliver a baby, had kidney stones removed, gallbladder removed, you know, needed to have some other kind of a surgery, had a stroke, heart attack, cancer, whatever, obviously none of those things are injury-based. And so you would need a policy that would cover for more like sickness-based kinds of things. Well, the policy in New Jersey and the policy in New York are a bit different from each other. In New Jersey, the individual policy here pays out $1,000 the first 24 hours you're in a hospital and $50 a day, right? Which will help a bit because if you have a $1,500 deductible, it'll at least knock out $1,000 of that $1,500, right? Now, if you're in New York, depending on how we set up the plan, whether it's a group plan or an individual plan, we can either set up the group plan to where it'll actually cover that whole $1,500 if we get enough people that want to sign up for it. If not, and if there's only a couple of you, then the way that plan works is that it's going to pay out a $240 a day hospitalization stay or confinement benefit. So whether you're there for a day or 20 days, it's paying you $240 a day. So a little bit of differences between the two states, but that's kind of the nature of that plan. It's designed to help fill in the gaps and pick up those out-of-pockets based on that deductible that you have. It does cover for any hospitalization stay. As long as you were admitted into the hospital, it's designed to pay these benefits directly to you. These plans, again, on this plan, still in that same $5 to $15 a week range, depending on single and a family and all that other stuff. And then basically that would still come out as a pre-tax deduction too. So even $15 as a pre-tax deduction is like $10, $11 a week. Very affordable. So, make sense? Any questions on that one? All right. Last one we're going to cover today, just because in talking with the owner of your company, he had mentioned just, some people here have had some scares over the last few years. You guys have had some really good tenure here. You've worked here a while. Started out when you were much younger, and as we all get older, obviously the potential for getting sick happens. So the last plan we're going to talk about is our cancer critical illness policy. The purpose behind this policy is to pay you out a lump sum, whether it's a heart attack, a stroke, end-stage renal failure, cancer, whatever the case may be. It's going to pay you out a big lump sum benefit. Whether you set it up to pay you $10,000, $15,000, $20,000, $25,000, you can decide for yourself. What's great about this is that, some of you in this room maybe have a history of cancer in your family. Some of you in this room don't, but you have a history of heart disease or heart attacks or strokes. This is kind of a one-size-fits-all kind of a plan. You can customize it to do exactly what you need it to do. And obviously over the course of time, especially if you've been around a bit, you've watched the deductibles go up, over the last 10 years. Well, over the next 10 years, you can probably imagine they're gonna go up as well. Well, what's great about this is that this policy, you're rated based on your current age today. And if you pick up a $20,000 policy to help cover any kind of heart attack or stroke or cancer, maybe that policy is only $3.50 a week right now. Well, 10 years from now, you're 10 years older, it'd probably be a more expensive policy if you signed up for it 10 years from now, right? You're getting to lock in at a cheap rate today and keep that rate. So any kind of a critical illness that you feel like you need to protect against, that's what this is going to do. So, make sense? Any questions on any of this stuff today? It's pretty straightforward, right? Very cut and dry, so.